Reeve, principal of Vanderveer Elementary School.
And I'm Dr. Tian, superintendent of schools.
We are so excited to welcome everyone to our Vanderveer Evening Learning Academy.
You are all in for weeks and weeks of enjoyment.
You will be learning alongside your very own Vanderveer teachers.
Also, we have teachers and administrators from across the district that will be bringing you fun learning experiences.
You will become scientists, engineers, mathematicians, writers, world explorers, and learn to communicate in different languages as you explore concepts in math, reading, writing, science, social studies, world language, and so many more.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we encourage you to visit often and view other lessons in our learning library as we add to the videos each week. Enjoy!
Which? That's hello, friends. I'm Mrs. Grace, and I am so excited to be doing equivalent fractions with you today. Does anybody know what tomorrow is? Yes, it is March 17th, but does anybody know what special holiday is March 17th? Yes, St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is an Irish holiday celebrating St. Patrick, but in America here we celebrate the Irish culture. There's so many symbols and things that are connected with Irish heritage. Red hair, green. Can you think of any other symbols that people connect with being Irish or being lucky? Yeah, horseshoes are lucky. They say you hold them upward above a door and it keeps all the luck inside. So don't turn them upside down or you'll lose it. What's another one? Right, gold coins. Did you ever hear the phrase, find a penny, pick it up, and all day you'll have good luck? Exactly, that's how you fill your pot of gold. And how do we find our pot of gold? At the end of a rainbow, right? Do you know any other symbols for luck? There are 7 colors in the rainbow. So yeah, the number 7 is usually considered pretty lucky. Wow, what a smart group I've got here. All right, mathematicians, before we get into equivalent fractions, let's just review some fraction vocabulary. So as you know, a fraction is a number that compares the part of an object or set to the whole. So what you usually see is the part up top and the whole number down below. But we don't use those words. We usually say the numerator and the denominator, right? So if we looked at this 4/7, we would know that the numerator is 4 and the denominator is 7. So of the 7 total pieces, 4 parts of them are being used. So let's take a look at this one. The question is asking, what is the fraction for the shaded part? Well, the first thing we need to figure out is how many total pieces do we have? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is our denominator, and we have 5 shaded pieces. So 5 would be our numerator, so we would have 5/6. Good job. All right, let's try this one. Right, so you have 4 whole pieces and 3 of them are shaded. So 3/4 would be our fraction. This one's a little tricky, it's a different shape. But not too tricky for you, good job. So we have 5 total pieces and 2 of them are shaded. So 2/5 would be our fraction. What about this one? Right, it's 1 whole, but it would be written as 2/2, right? Because 2 parts of the 2 whole pieces are shaded. All right, last one, no help. Excellent. 1/6. Wow, you are such a good group of mathematicians. Wow, I am just blown away by your fraction knowledge. You know what I think this is cause for? A celebration, a celebration, a celebration. This next step is going to be no problem because you guys are so smart. You know your fractions, no problem. So let's get into it. What is an equivalent fraction? Well, I like to break down words to see if I can know what they mean before I go into them. So when I look at the word equivalent, equivalent, are there other words that sound like equivalent? Is there anything else? Yeah, I hear the word equal in there too. So equivalent must have something to do with being equal. Fractions. You know, one time when I was younger, I fractured my hand. The doctor said that I broke it, but he used the word fracture. So I wonder if fract. It does. It means to break because in fractions, we break the parts from the whole. So an equivalent fraction are fractions that are equal. That's so easy. We've got this. Okay, so like we said, fractions are a part of a whole. And equivalent fractions, though they look different, they equal the same value. So here are different ways that equivalent fractions can look. You can have them in regions. You can have area models. You can have model drawings. You can have a number line. Or it can just be written out in numbers. So you see that the numerators may look different and the denominators may look different, but they are the same value. Well, that's a little confusing because if they have different numerators and different denominators, how do they have the same value? Well, let's take a look here. So if I have one piece of paper, the fraction is 1/1, one piece. So if I take that same piece and I fold it in half, I now have two parts that equal one whole. If I took that same piece of paper and I folded it 3 times, I would have 3 parts that equal one whole. Now, if I took it and I folded it into 4 parts, you would need all 4 to equal the one whole. Well, what if I put it into 5? Well, you would need 5 parts for one whole. Same with 6. If you have 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, those all together, you have 6 parts to equal the one whole. And we could just keep going. If you have 7 parts, it still equals the one whole. So even though you have different denominators, they could still have the same value. Okay, so now that we know what equivalent fractions are, I have a question. How can we use multiplication to find equivalent fractions? Okay, so if I have 1/2 here, you see that one part of the two whole are shaded. How can I make an equivalent fraction? Well, if I just make my numerator 2 and my denominator 4 by multiplying 2 to the numerator and 2 to the denominator, we still have an equal fraction. You can see that nothing's changed in the picture, just where the line is drawn. So again, if I multiply the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 4, I have 4/8, 4 shaded of the 8 total pieces. and that makes that an equivalent fraction. So the most important thing about an equivalent fraction is whatever you do to the numerator, the top, you have to do to the denominator, the bottom. So if I'm multiplying my 1/2 by 2, I have to do it to the top and the bottom. Let's take a look at that one again. So if I started with 1/2 and then I have my numerator and I multiply that by 2, I have to remember what I do to the numerator, I do to the denominator as well. Good. So I'm going to multiply the denominator also by 2. So that gives me 2/4. So we do it one more time. And I multiply now my numerator of 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And I multiply my denominator 4 by 2, giving me 8. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4 or 4/8. All right, that was a lot of information. I think we earned it. A brain break. So let's learn a little bit more about Irish heritage. So leprechauns are often associated with being Irish. You see the shamrock, the green, right? So in Irish folklore, folklore is stories passed down orally through generations. And it's said that leprechauns are cranky fairies and they mend the shoes of other fairies. And it's through the fairies that leprechauns get their luck. So they have these magical powers, and they really like to be a little mischievous or have a little too much fun, some trickery. But they use that in order to guard their treasures, their gold. But you may have made some leprechaun traps in school, because if you catch a leprechaun, they're going to give you 3 wishes. What would I do with 3 wishes? Wonder if you can wish for more wishes. Okay, back to math. So this leprechaun is looking for a pot of gold that's equal to 1/3. So I know that to find an equivalent fraction, I need to use multiplication. So I have 3 pots of gold. One has 4/8, one has 4/12, and one has 2/3. And I have to ask myself, well, what can I do to the numerator and the denominator that's going to give me a fraction equal to 1/3? So if I have 3/3, if I multiply 1/3 by 3, I get 4/12. Wait, let's look at that one again. Let's put our thinking caps on. Got my thinking cap on. Okay, perfect. So if I have 1/3, and I'm saying that that's equal to 4/12, I must have multiplied the numerator by 4, and whatever I do to the numerator, I have to do to the denominator. So I multiplied the denominator by 4. So 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 4 is 12. So 1/3 is equal to 4/12. Right, let's do that one again. So this guy is looking for a pot of gold that's equal to 1/2. So which one of these is equal to 1/2? 3/4, 2/3, or 5/10? Well, I know that if I multiply 1/2 by 5/5, that it will give me 5/10. Let's see how this works. So I have 1/2, and I'm going to multiply the numerator by 5 and the denominator by 5, and that will give me an equivalent fraction of 5/10. Wow, this seems easy breezy for you. Whew, that is a lot of information, and you've guessed it, we earned another brain break. So all throughout this presentation, you've seen clovers, or what we like to call shamrocks, which are absolutely a part of the Irish tradition. So according to the legend, a 4-leaf clover is supposed to represent hope, faith, love, and luck. So you could probably go out into your backyard and find 3-leaf clovers, because for every 10,000 3-leaf clover, there's only 1 4-leaf clover. So if you happen to find one of those, you should keep it. use that press and seal, put it in a book, flatten it, because it is good luck. All right, we're going to get back to some equivalent fractions, but this time I want you and I to do it together. So I'm going to put a 1 minute countdown, and I want you to go get paper or dry erase board, something where we can work these fractions out on paper. Okay? All right, I'm starting the timer. Ready, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you have your materials? I hope so. Okay, let's get started. So if we had 3/5, what would our equivalent fraction be? I'll give you a hint. We're going to multiply by 3. Right, 9/15 would be our equivalent fraction because we've multiplied the numerator 3 by 3, and that gives us 9. And we'd multiply the denominator 5 by 3, and that gives us 15. Awesome. Are you ready for the next one? 7/7. That one didn't take you long at all because 7/7 is a whole, right? So it would have to be equivalent, and we just multiplied by 2 to get 14/14. Okay, one more. 4/10. Is it equal to 12/13? 16/40? 8/40? Right, 16/40 because we're multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 4. Okay, last one. I know I didn't give you options this time. There's so many choices. So I want you to think of any equivalent fraction to 2/4. Wow, yeah, great answers. I'm hearing 6/12, 8/16, 10/20. Wow, 200/400. Wow, really great job. I mean, high five. You totally rocked equivalent fractions. But I guess the question is, what do we do with these fractions in real life? One of my favorite things. We cook with fractions. All right, we're going to move into my kitchen and we're going to get a tasty treat that everybody loves to eat. It's sweet and it's perfect for celebrations like St. Patrick's Day. What do you think it is? Hi, math scholars. Welcome to my kitchen. So before I asked you if you could think of what this sweet treat that everyone loves to celebrate with could possibly be. Do you think of anything good? I'll give you a few more hints. You need some flour, some baking soda, definitely sugar, and a special sweet treat. something everybody loves. What do you think? Okay, on the count of three, we're going to say it at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Irish soda bread. Wait, cookies? Chocolate chip cookies are not Irish, though. Okay, they are a sweet treat that everybody does love, but they're not Irish. What could we do to chocolate chip cookies to make them fit for St. Patrick's Day? Ooh, I like that. We could make them green. That'd be a lot of fun. I do have some food coloring. We could totally do that. I do have a secret family recipe in here for some chocolate chip cookies, but I'm gonna need your help. I'm gonna pull out all the fractions in there, and you've got to help me make them equivalent. Deal? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to write down some of the fractions in my top secret chocolate chip cookie recipe. So we have 1/2 cup of flour. We have 3/4 cup of brown sugar. We have 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We have 1/2 a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we have 2/3 cup, of course, of chocolate chips. All right, let's do some equivalent fractions over here. So if I have 1/2, remember we said that equivalent fractions look different in the numerator and the denominator, but they have equal values. And how we do that is we make sure that whatever we do to the numerator, we also do to the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So that means for flour, I need 2/4 cup of flour. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, you tell me. 3 times 2 is, right, 6. And 4 times 2 is 8. Perfect. So we need 6/8 cup of brown sugar. So we need 1/4 salt. Okay, this one looks, well, the top looks familiar, our numerators. So we do 1 times 2, and then 4 times 2 is, great. So we need 2/8 teaspoon of salt. How much vanilla extract? This one looks super familiar. We did this up here with the flour, right? So 1 times 2 is 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. So we need 2/4 vanilla extract. And then we, of course, the chocolate chips, we could probably add a little extra in there, right? So we have 2/3 of a cup. And what we do to the numerator, we do to the denominator. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. So, even though we started with a half cup, because of equivalent fractions, we know that 1/2 is equal to 2/4 because we multiplied by 2 in both the numerator and the denominator. And we did that with all of our ingredients here. Wow. Thanks so much for your help on that. Guess there's only one thing left to do. Let's make some cookies. Okay, so I'm gonna finish putting my dry ingredients in a bowl. We have a 1/2 cup left, but we said that we could have used 2 of the 1/4 cups, right? Because a 1/2 cup is equal to 2/4 cup. So we're gonna put that in there. And then we're gonna finish it out with our baking soda. I'm gonna whisk it. And we're gonna get ready for our KitchenAid, and we're gonna put our wet ingredients together. Okay, we're gonna put our brown sugar in there. Make sure we see all that. Okay, we're gonna mix this together until it's light and fluffy. All right, we're gonna add some of the flour in. We're gonna add some green food coloring in there. They definitely look like chocolate chip cookies. I just don't know how green they look. Guess we'll have to bake them to find out. So the cookies are done. And while they didn't turn out nearly as green as I would have hoped, they still taste delicious. Let's review what we learned today. Okay, scholars. So we started our lesson by just reviewing what fractions were. And we said that a fraction compares the part of an object to the whole object. Then we moved right on into equivalent fractions. And we said even though they have different numerators and denominators, they have the same value. And we decided that we could make fractions equivalent through multiplication. The only rule is that whatever you do to the numerator, you also have to do to the denominator. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to learn equivalent fractions with me. You got me out of my 4th grade classroom at Vanderveer Elementary into my house talking about my heritage and baking some pretty tasty treats. So if you enjoyed this, why don't you make the Irish soda bread? Or maybe you could make your own mint chocolate chip cookies so they're a little more green than what we've got going on here. If you're not going to make either of those, you can even use equivalent fractions when you're cutting your pizza with your family or your friends to make sure that everybody gets an equal slice of the pie. If you want to go to avca.com, they've got some really fun equivalent fraction games, or you can go to splashlearn.com and they've got some too. Until next time, slán let. That's Irish Gaelic for goodbye.